For those of you that do not know, Defiance is a TV show airing on SyFy. The second episode just aired today on the East Coast. It aired for the last hour, and that's why we're inviting everyone to come here. And we're going to talk about the show as well as the game, which came out 3 weeks ago, where people have been playing and enjoying the game for 3 weeks. And so over the course of the next 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to be talking about what it all means to have these two things going on at the same time.
And as this is a live show, we are going to be gathering your questions throughout the broadcast. And hopefully some of your questions will be selected and we will answer them at the end of all of our segments. So please, if you don't see chat over to your right, I'm pointing where your mystical chat would be, please click the button below that says join the conversation. That'll take you to our Twitch channel. You can log in, join the conversation, ask us a couple questions, and hopefully by the end of the show we'll get them and we'll answer them for you.
So let's talk about the show that hopefully all of you guys just watched because it was really awesome. I'm going to go back to the very beginning of the show because I want to talk about my absolute favorite thing that happened in this show. And that was the Cast-a-Thin ritual of essentially punishing the guy that was a deserter during the battle that we saw in the first episode. This was really, really interesting to me because I think one of the coolest things about Defiance, both the show, the city, the game, is the fact that it's all a story about humans living together with not just one alien race, not just two alien races, but a whole bunch of alien races, all with their own cultures and beliefs and religions. And so this episode was the first time in the show that we really got some strong insight into what it's like for these cultures to be living together. And the answer is that it's not always pleasant. You know, we got to see this. Obviously, the Cast-a-Thins have their own rituals. The way that they deal with deserters is what we specifically saw. That is very much, when the humans come across it, not at all something that sat well with them.
Nolan called it torture.
Nolan went so far as to call it torture and wanted to shut the whole thing down. And I just think it's really cool to see that, you know, because both sides have valid arguments. You know, from the human side, it's not going to be great for morale, especially in a world in which morale is probably one of your chief problems, to have people tortured to death on the streets. At the same time, for the Cast-a-Thins, it's obviously a deep part of their culture and religion, and we saw even as important as, I can't remember the exact word. It was important to basically absolve him of his sins in their religion, and that is like, so whose side do you take? There is no perfect answer. They are both dealing with important things, and that's why it was my favorite part of the show. And it wasn't just the beginning. It kind of was a theme that persisted throughout, and it was really cool. I can't wait to see more.
My favorite parts of the show tie into what you're talking about. You know, obviously we got a little bit more of a backstory on the Arathians and perhaps why the Spirit Riders were such jerks
to was the other thing. Yeah.
Nolan in the first episode. But my favorite piece of the show was when they explained terraforming. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm watching the show or playing the game, I see this alien landscape. I see that it's been terraformed and that there's alien shrubbery around. But terraforming is more than just weird plants and some bumps and everything in the road. Some terraforming can actually take the crust of the earth and fold it on over cities. In this case, Old St. Louis. And so in episode 2, you get a little bit more of that backstory, which I didn't know before. And we actually have that clip to show you in case you missed it or you want to see it again.
When the alien terraformers went crazy, most American cities were obliterated, but something strange happened to St. Louis. Terraformed earth folded over the city, hardened before crushing it.
This actually brings me into my second favorite scene, which is when Nolan and company go into the Gulenite mines to chase after Ben. As soon as I saw this scene, I thought, holy crap, that is the first co-op mission that we saw in the game, where you go in after the 99ers and you go into the mines and down to that blue wall where you see the mining and it's, you know, that circular shape. It looked like the exact same place to me, and that was super cool. And that was my first aha moment, because we see the flora and we see everything about the world, but we don't ever get a comparison that is that close. And I really loved that moment in the show, because I could really feel that, you know, this alien landscape has taken over the entire world, and everything, whether you're in the Bay Area or in St. Louis, looks the same. And you know, Goulanite is everywhere. It is a resource that, for better or worse, is there and everybody is going to use. So there are mines across the entire country.
And that really is the epitome of what we're talking about, is that the tons of people that have been playing the game since it launched 3 weeks ago. The game started 2 weeks before the show aired, have seen these same things. The co-op mission that you were talking about, they've seen Goulanite all over the place. They've run across missions and talked to characters in the game and gotten a real good insight into what Goulanite is and what it means to this you know, terraformed post-apocalyptic world. And that is why we keep saying that the best way to get the most out of Defiance, the whole Defiance universe, is both playing the game and watching the show. They each have their own distinct storylines, but there are crossovers between those storylines that go back and forth. You guys have only seen it go back explicitly one time, but trust us, it's going to be a lot more without going into spoiler territory.
The season is young.
The season is very young. There is a lot more that you guys are going to see. So, you know, if you love the show but haven't checked out the game yet, check out the game. Try it out. You are going, if you like what's going on in the show, if you like the lore there, the aliens, the terraformed world, you're going to like the game, because you're going to get even more out of that. You know, even things as small as like these hidden data recorders you can find in the world, where you get these audio clips of some part of the history of Defiance, really just let you really see more about what there is. And if you're playing the game but haven't watched the show yet, get on it. Watch the show, because you're going to get these same reactions that Elizabeth did, where you're going to get to see them doing things and you're like, I know what that means. And it's a really cool experience to get both of these. And you know, from the feedback we've seen from our fans, they agree. And so yeah, it's really cool.
I want to give props to our design team, because we've said that they worked very closely with SyFy and SyFy worked very closely with us, but I feel like that moment really shows exactly what they were able to build together and how they actually pulled it off.
And I mean, they've been working together for so long, SyFy and our team, you know, designing the lore together, the aliens and everything. We actually decided to invite one of the members of the dev team, creative lead Bill Trost, to come up here to our offices, and Elizabeth sat down with him to talk all about what it's like to do this thing. And so we have that interview, and let's watch it.
Hey guys, welcome. I am here today with Bill Trost from the Defiance dev team, and we have collected some questions from the forums, and we are going to put you to the test and ask those to you. First question for you. What was it like designing the aliens? Did you have any ideas for aliens that were a little bit further out there, less humanoid, and was there any changes or different directions you had to go in to make them more feasible to work both in game and show?
Sure. For sure, that was a consideration. You know, we developed lots and lots of different aliens and different creatures in the lore Bible that we made at the very beginning of the project. And weekly, we wanted to make sure that the characters that are intended to cross over were, you know, felt more human and were more relatable, so that the stories would resonate more with people. But that doesn't mean that we can't have cool monsters and cool aliens. And the game has 50-foot tall hellbugs and all sorts of crazy creatures, and it just means that you can't expect the hellbug, you know, the hellbug queen to be a main character on the show every week. But, you know, for an episode or two, you may see some of our cooler, bigger, scarier monsters.
In the show, when Nolan is asked about the Battle of Defiance, he says, it was what it was. People who have played the game know a lot more about the Battle of Defiance than those who right now have been watching the show. Mm-hmm. As a designer, what were, let's say, 3 of your main goals for creating the game, and how did you meet those, or what did you have to change or perhaps re-envision to make it work with both Defiance in St. Louis and Defiance in San Francisco?
Well, when we were first starting the game, our goals were very broad and very very broadly stated. And they were simple. We want a fun game first, because if it's not a fun game, people won't care what else you do. So we focused on that moment-to-moment gameplay. We wanted it to be really fun, and we wanted it to be a game that you can play with your friends in a huge open world where you have the opportunity to meet other people. Because a lot of us had a lot of MMO experience, and that's the aspect of the MMO that we really liked. Was it's the other people that you meet. It's playing with your friends, and so that was the core. Obviously, that doesn't say much about the specifics of Defiance. Once we got into the idea that, okay, Defiance is going to be this shooter, then really that gave us a lot of focus on, and there's plenty of high quality shooters that we can look at, to draw inspiration from. And really, we really focused on making sure that if you're coming into Defiance expecting a shooter, that we're going to deliver that.
Final question for you. What was it like in the office and for you personally during launch week and also during the day of our first big patch?
Yeah, it was crazy as could be expected. People running around, everybody, mixture of excitement and fear. But ultimately, we knew going into it that as an online game, that's when our job starts, because we're as much a service as we are a boxed product that somebody buys. So, we really are working around the clock to address all of the problems and to add new stuff to the game to constantly make Defiance better for everyone, including ourselves, because we all play and we want the game to be constantly getting better.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Wish you the best of luck in all of the new changes and updates we'll be making. And thank you guys. We will be back next week with a new interview for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, guys. So next up is what is my absolute favorite segment. And the reason is what happens when I do this. It's time for our Fan Find of the Week. It's that fanfare that really does it. Also, our cool little animated graphic. It's just the coolest part. It's also my favorite part because this is the part where we get to really focus on what I think is the most important part of our game, and that's you guys, the fans. You are what bring the world to life, and you're what just make us have a reason to keep doing this. And one of the things that is really cool and that really just is awesome about doing this is seeing all the creations that you guys create. Be it something as simple as a story told on Reddit, or a screenshot submitted on our Twitter, or a cool video that you post on our forums. There are so many cool things that you guys are doing, and that is why we have this segment dedicated to you guys. And so this week, our Fan Find of the Week is something really cool, and that it is a website. It is the Vehicles of Defiance website. This is a web page that one of our fans has created that is aiming to catalog every vehicle that is in Defiance that you can get in any way, both all the different models of vehicles, all the different paint jobs for those different vehicles, and it really is cool because there are a ton of selections in the game, and when you want to go and spend your hard-earned script or bits on these vehicles, you want to make sure that you're making a choice that you really like. And so it's a great website to head to go and find out what's available out there, how you get these different things. Some of them are not easy to get. Some of them require you to do really tough challenges. The Black Challenger, the Black Dodge Challenger is a really good example of that. And some require you to get lucky and get to an in-game vendor at just the right time when they have it for sale. And so this website, while it's trying to be a complete database of all the vehicles, it doesn't have every single one. And that's where you guys come in. You guys, if you go to that website and see that you have a vehicle or you've seen a vehicle in the game that he doesn't have, submit it to him. Let him know. Take a screenshot of it so that they can add it to the database and have this thing be complete.
And one of the things that I want to say that's really exciting is we right now are going to have a sale on all the vehicles in Defiance. I'm actually really excited, and I thank our entire team for having this great idea and making it happen today when we were going over the script, because all of our vehicles are going to be 50% off for the next 48 hours to celebrate episode 2, to celebrate Vehicles of Defiance, and to celebrate some of the other cool things that are going to be coming along a little later in the program. So if you guys want to get in on that, hop into the game now. In the next 48 hours, you are going to have a chance to get one of your vehicles on sale, which I think is really awesome.
And I'm going to let you speak in just a moment, but I want to cut in with something that I didn't tell her I was going to be cutting in with. Elizabeth and I are going to be doing something really cool a little bit later, and we invite you guys, if you're playing the game, to join us. All I'm going to say is that if you have the game, if you're in the game, head on over to the Demon Run time trial. Get there. You've got a couple minutes to get there. There's a fast travel point right nearby.
And speaking of time-limited things, I do want to talk about the Armistice Festival. Last episode, our first episode of Across the Badlands, we talked about the new content that had just come into the game. Well, that content is still there, and until this Monday at noon Pacific time, you will be able to play it. And that includes the pursuits, the emergencies, the challenges, all that cool stuff. And you can also still get some cool prizes for going through all of those challenges, and my lovely assistant Greg will hopefully be modeling the title that you can get, which is Keeper of the Northern Lights. You can also get Keeper of the Southern Lights, but Greg decided to show off, or will eventually show off, Keeper of the Northern Lights, which is the title. Oh, there
it goes.
is.
All right, hey, look.
Which is the title
You could
can
be
get
like me.
for completing some of these pursuits, but that is only available until Monday at noon Pacific Daylight Time. So please do hop on into the game and get in on that. You can also light the lanterns that are in the game to celebrate the Fallen, which is pretty awesome. And one of the things that is really cool is if you light them, sometimes you see fireworks, which are beautiful. And I've heard some of you guys in-game talking about, and on the forums talking about the fireworks. And so if you want to experience those, you'll definitely have to do it before Monday. And I know that some of you, I know you're really excited, but some of you guys have, said, well, I didn't get to complete everything from the last amount of content, before Nolan and Arissa went over to St. Louis. All I'm going to say is there will be a chance in the future, if you missed something, to catch it again. I know that's something a lot of you guys have been asking, so just so you know, that is there. We have heard you. We are listening, and please do stay tuned. But until then, if you want to be like Greg and be the Keeper of the Northern Lights, please hop into the game before Monday and get in on the festival. It's all you now.
Oh, I was just going to say that I really like the lanterns. I really like the lanterns in the game. I had actually not seen them until just before we did the show last week, so I could see what it was I was talking about. And I thought they were just going to be like lanterns, like you turn on a light. And then when they floated up, it's those paper lanterns that float up into the sky. I was like, oh, that is way cooler than what was
really
in my head. And if you have a bunch of people in the same area lighting a whole bunch, they all go up in the air. It's just the intention of those kinds of things, and it looks really cool. So I told you guys to get on over to the Demon Run time trial, and here is the reason. It is time for our Showdown Throwdown with the coolest little animated graphic we have created for this show
As
yet.
you can tell, Greg creates all of the segment titles.
I put Showdown Throwdown on the original plan for this episode as a placeholder name, and then people were like, that's awesome, and then they made an animated thing, and I was like, I guess it's the Showdown Throwdown now, and I'm really happy about that. So we listened to you guys' feedback about the first show, and one of the things that a bunch of you guys said was that I tuned in on Twitch TV. I expected to see some gameplay, and you guys didn't play the game at all. And while we showed a couple clips of the game, you guys are right. And so we sat down and went, well, what would be an interesting thing to show that's different from what we do on our Wednesday and Friday live streams where we typically play the game for everyone? And we thought of this idea, well, how about we turn it into a competition? And since I got to plan the competition, I decided to make it a race.
It.
Well, I mean, you say tomato, I say tomato. So we're actually going to grab our controllers here. And we've got our characters queued up at the Demon Run time trial, and we're going to race for you guys live, and so we are ready to go. So anyone there that wants to race us at the exact same time, you can go ahead and click on that, and we're going to press our go button so we're completely synced up in 3, 2, 1. You started right before me!
I did!
Oh my God! Did you guys see that? All right, here we go.
All right, here we go.
I'm already ahead of you.
No, you aren't.
I totally am.
Oh, man.
Look at, you can see
So
my screen.
one of my, oh, shoot. Oh, I totally just psyched myself out.
Oh, God.
Oh, this
Oh, God.
is the worst. I did so much better last time. So one of the things is I'm not very good at these, although I did just make an epic failure that isn't even really bad driving. It's me just following the road rather than the course.
Whoa.
So one of the things about these, and I'm not super great at hitting them, is you do want to stay boosting the entire time. And so hitting those rings is really, really important to make sure that you have boosts all the time.
You guys can see that some of the, oh God, I wasn't pushing it. Some of these rings have a little, have that little spinny thing in the middle, and that fills up your boost to maximum when you run. Oh God, I hit a hell bug. They fill up your boost to maximum, so you want to make sure that you're using all your boosts in between those to get the most out of that boost. And I am really screwing up, man. I'm screwing up my boost. I think I'm still ahead of you. Here we go. Oh, you're not actually too far behind me. I expected you to be a little further back. If I just miss one, oh no.
I feel like you may
I did
have.
the worst thing.
Oh shoot!
You did the same thing.
Oh my God! How did we just do that? Oh God! I just got off my
You
car.
got off your car. That's gonna be.
This is the worst. Oh,
right.
This is the worst. So just so you guys know, I once did this and got silver, but I don't think that's going to happen this time.
You did screw up at the same ring I did. It just
Yeah,
took
but you recovered
a little bit
so
longer to
much
recover.
faster. I'm really glad I can't see the Twitch chat because people are going to be making fun of me. And I even said before this, I was like, I'm just going to get psyched out during this. Anyway, one of the things that I do want to say about the time trials is we were talking about the Black Challenger, and if you get gold on all of these challenges and all of these time trials, that's how you get the Black Challenger.
That's why I was saying it's really hard to get, because some of them getting gold, oh God damn it. I mean, gosh darn it. Can we say
Sure.
gosh darn it?
Sure.
Stocko! I completely lost my train of thought.
That's why you know that if I ever have the Black Challenger, that I totally used a GM. That I used a GM cheat, because clearly me getting gold, or I spent a ton of time practicing this and wasn't doing my job really, because I think that's the only way I will ever get good enough at these. And the best time I got on this, I think was like 340, which is actually pretty slow, all things considered. But
oh, I hit the hellbug again.
and
it screwed me up, and I hit a tree. I actually like that we can see a bunch of our fans racing. At least on my side, you can see there's that purple guy
you know
right
what?
next to
You
me.
can hush.
Well, I mean, they are. See, there's a guy right behind me. So there's other people racing, doing this route, which is why I told you guys to show up to Demon Run.
Is somebody
go.
going to beat you? You're
I
not gonna
think
be
that I
first?
actually did really badly. Oh God, that was the same ring that I screwed up on last time.
The tree one?
Also, don't you guys love those cool little portraits? Oh, portraits on the screen right now. We took those like half an hour ago.
I hate mine.
And I'm really happy with mine.
I hate mine.
And I think it's funny how much Elizabeth hates hers.
You made me mess up again by talking about my portrait.
And now you know my plan. Come on, psychological warfare is like 50% of competition. Here we go.
This is going to be like a 5-minute segment because of my epic failure to run through this race.
Wow.
I apologize,
so
guys.
I actually picked up silver, which is
Really?
surprising to me because I screwed up a bunch of times. This is one of the races on the easier side. I'm not going to call it an easy race, but it is one of the earlier ones in the game. And, so you're going to finish your whole race, aren't you? Oh, you're right at the end there.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm there.
Let's see what you picked up.
Oh, I didn't get bronze. I
You
didn't get bronze.
I think you needed 4 minutes for bronze.
I think you have to be under, so I missed it by 4, and I apologize, guys. I really thought I'd do better that time, but you know, this is where we were gonna let the winner brag. Which, if I had won, you can bet your ass that I would be like, "Suck it, Greg." But
it just kind of feels like kicking you while you're down. I watched you do some practice runs. We were both doing some practice runs on this race, and she picked up silver. She got a better time than I did on her first time through it. And so that's me being the kindest I've ever been
but
to
no
you.
one can prove it, so
No
really
one can
that
prove
means
it. But
nothing.
really, on the record, I won, she lost. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, so, and this is a good time to remind you guys of what we had just said a minute ago, which is in honor of today's somewhat vehicle-themed Across the Badlands. We are putting all of our vehicles on the in-game Defiance store 50% off for the next 48 hours. So for 2 days, you guys can go ahead and pick up those vehicles for half off. And so brings us, I was like, why are you looking at your iPad? Oh, because this next segment is, we told you at the beginning that we were going to be taking your questions from the chat, which is what we are going to do right now. One of our awesome volunteer moderators, Codex, you guys, you regulars know her in the chat room there, has been sifting through the chat looking for cool questions and has been sending them to Elizabeth during this whole show. So you've got a whole list of questions for us to answer here. So what are they?
So the first question I'm going to give to you, which is, how often will we...
So our controller just vibrated because we're actually still in the game. I'm going to put them on the floor because that was kind of amazing. The controller farted.
I thought you were doing something that I was just going to ignore, but, you know, live TV, whatever. So to the question... How often will we see crossovers from game to show, or crossover content like what we've talking about with Nolan and Arissa and Armistice?
That's a good question. The exact number I don't have off the top of my head. It is a bunch of them. I can tell you that next week we are launching new content that you guys are going to get to see, and we'll be talking about that on the next Across the Badlands. I can also tell you guys, some people have asked when are we going to get more missions like those pre-show missions that we showed you guys last week, where Nolan and Arissa got the gem from you. You are going to get more episode missions with cutscenes and voices and all that. They are coming, and so you guys can stay tuned for that. So I know that I'm not really answering exactly how often, because I wish we had Sledgehammer here, because he has those nitty-gritty details.
Game expert.
The fan questions are always the scariest, because I'm like, oh my god, are they going to embarrass me for my lack of knowledge? And a little bit. But
Well,
not too bad.
I do know that Sledge is probably in chat because he did ask whether he could buy your sweater, but I'm not going to take that as one of
Off
our
my
fan
back,
questions. I don't.
or from the
I'm going
store?
to leave that open-ended. There is one other question, which is, do Nolan and Arissa have ego implants? Which I'm going to field, which is sort of a non-answer, but to my knowledge, no, because they aren't Ark hunters. I know that they talk about themselves as being bounty hunters, but I do not believe they work for Von Bach. I've never heard that. If so, that'll be revealed later. But as an Ark hunter, you work for Von Bach Industries, and they implant an ego in you, which is how you can have those cool powers like cloak and overdrive and blur. But I don't believe they have those. I'm fairly certain. But you as an Ark hunter in the game do have them, which is why you have that little voice talking in your ear sometimes telling you what to do, and you have those amazing powers. So that is the answer to that question. Ooh, a good question. What was the object at the end of the episode? Is it an Ark core? And I believe they're talking about episode 2, not episode 1, which the answer would be yes.
Yeah, the end was the Terrasphere at the end of episode 1 that they used to defeat the army. Spoilers. That was last week's episode. Come on. That has not been explicitly revealed in the show, and so that would be knee-deep in spoiler territory. Good question, and just one that we can't answer. We know, because we have access to the Defiance Bible that you guys saw Bill Trost talk about in her interview. The Defiance Bible is actually really cool. It's a page on our corporate wiki that has the full list of like everything that's in Defiance and what it means. It's how it's used. It's something that you pretty much have to create if you're creating any new universe. You have to like write down all the things that are in it, and so having access to that is really cool. But the short answer is we can't tell you what that is. Keep watching.
A new question came in, and I feel like this is more of an opinion question than anything else. But does Ego's voice get more insane as the game goes on, or is that the player's imagination? I don't know. I'm going to leave that to you because I don't think so.
I'm going to lob this one back to the guy who was asking, are you getting more insane as you play Defiance? Because that's the third answer. I don't, maybe. I don't know.
I don't feel so, but I think then you could lob the question back at me and say, well, Elizabeth, are you insane? And the jury is definitely still out on that one, so
I can just
good question.
imagine that our lore designer is watching this and he's going to be like, great, a fan picked up on the awesome subtle storytelling, and they were totally like, I don't think so. Like, well, if that is what happens, we'll let you guys know.
Some
we are
of these
not
questions-
below admitting our own embarrassment.
Yeah, some of these questions I really like because they're open-ended or ones I don't know the answers to, and I really want to see on the forums tomorrow you're calling me out on what you think is wrong or giving me more explanation or having the debate continue.
I love when people tell me I'm wrong on the internet. It's like the coolest thing.
It happens to me every day. So, final question, which I will answer. Will the actors from the show be on Across the Badlands? I can give you a little taste of what next week is going to be. We are going to have the guy who designed the language in Defiance on the show, and Greg is super psyched about it.
I'm really excited. He's not an actor on the show, but of all the, okay, I don't want to insult everyone else who works on the show, so I'm not going to say he's my favorite one, but he's actually my favorite one. There are obviously a lot of languages that were invented just for Defiance. You hear them in both the game and the show, and I'm so happy that I get to personally talk to the guy that designed those you know how sometimes it's interesting to talk to someone who's like an expert, a true professional expert in a field that you know nothing about. I love that. And linguistics, that qualifies as a field I know literally nothing about in the slightest. So I'm very excited. Next week.
And so you guys know, we have a whole lot of guests planned. We'll have one every episode, at least that's my hope right now, until we think up other cool, hilarious segment titles. And we will have them from both show and game, both behind the scenes and both, actors. So please do stay tuned for that. I'm not going to reveal anything past next episode, but that next episode is going to be really awesome and have some really cool language in it.
That was a pretty good teaser for the next episode. I didn't think you were going to tell them that. I thought we were going to keep it a secret.
I've actually already started asking people on the forums to give me questions for him, so if you're
clearly
on the
not a
forums,
secret.
go there, ask him a question.
All right, so since that was our last audience question of the week, it brings us to, obviously, the saddest segment is our goodbye. Barely even a segment, it's just us saying goodbye. This is goodbye for the evening, not goodbye forever. As you probably have guessed, we are going to continue to do this Across the Badlands live stream each and every week after the show airs on SyFy. So click that follow button. It's over there in the bottom left of your screen if you're on the Join the Conversation page, if you're on the Twitch TV page. Click it. That is how you'll get notified by email every time we go live. It's the best way to keep up to date with our live streams and also our other live streams where we play the game and just talk to our fans. So click that button and tune in next week, watch Defiance, and then come here and watch Across the Badlands.
And I don't want to set a precedent with a, wait, there's more. But this week, wait,
but now you're
there's more.
Officially setting a precedent. They're going to be very disappointed if we don't next week. We'll figure something out.
I'll see what I can do later this week. So if you got our newsletter, you probably know what I'm about to talk about. We did say in there, be the first to cross over from game to show. And I'm excited to unofficially announce our Most Wanted competition. Now, this isn't out yet. This isn't published anywhere. This is the first time we've ever talked about it. But the Most Wanted competition is going to be for gamers to compete in the game for a chance to get your likeness in the show. And I can't really say more about that, but sometime this week, we're going to be putting up on Defiance.com, and if you follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Carrier Pigeon, whatever, you will not be able to miss when we announce this Most Wanted competition. So if you are in the game, be sure to start practicing for said competition. Practice everywhere, practice everything. And if you haven't gotten in and you're interested in getting your likeness in the show, do go out and grab a copy of Defiance and jump into the game, because we will be announcing very soon, and it's a really cool competition.
It's one of my favorite. I don't want to say it's definitely one of my favorite things we're doing with this entire show, game, combined universe thing. It is just, how cool is that? Like she said, we're being a little cagey on the exact details. It will launch later this week. We will shout it from the rooftops. Wherever you follow us, we will be talking about it. And so just stay tuned to whichever website you like to stay tuned to, and you'll hear about it.
And to take us out, our friends at SyFy have provided us a little bit of the episode of next week, so you can check out what they're going to be airing on Monday, and we will be back with Across the Badlands after that show airs at 7:05 Eastern next week. And those of you guys who play the game, I'm sure by watching this you'll be very, very excited to see what is going to be in next week's show.
7:05 Pacific. next week.
Thank you.
10:05
Sorry.
Eastern. Same time as this time.
Anyway, have a good night, guys, and thank you for joining us.
Enjoy the teaser.
Trackers said they heard a scream, but they didn't see anything.
We've got a killer out there.
Hellbugs.
You look after yours, I'll look after mine.
Explain these visions of yours.
Someone's directing these attacks.
Looks like we fell into Hellbug Central.
Defiance, all new next Monday at 9, only on SyFy.